All right. Well, good morning, everyone. This is a new segment I'm starting. It's called The News and You. So, what I would like to do is every morning, I usually get up quite early, just after 5. I have my coffee, I skim through the news articles, watch the sun come up before I let my horses out. So, I'm going to start talking about things that I see in the news and how they might impact you and steps we can take to prepare for these things that we're seeing happening around us. And just to preface things with, I'm not um, a big fan of believing everything you see in the news, regardless of where it's from. I've been to a lot of calls over the years in various emergency response capacities where you then see about what happened the next day in the paper or on the news, and you think, that's not what happened. And I was there. So take everything with a grain of salt. And this is just my opinion on some of this stuff. My own morning resilience. So this morning, I was typing away on the computer. Suddenly, it said not connected to the internet, and a message popped up saying your modem has moved. Please return it to its proper location. I rebooted everything, nothing. Of course, I couldn't look up the number for TELUS, my local provider. I had a TELUS loyalty number in my phone, but their office was closed at the time I called. Texted a few people to see if I could get their number. So, what's the lesson here? Write down important numbers. We don't have phone books anymore. And if the internet goes down, you won't be able to look it up. I had the same problem at another house I had lived in, and internet was down, and the security alarm went off as well. I didn't have the security company's phone number. And so write down those numbers: insurance, internet tech support, if you have a security company, your friends, your account numbers, your passwords. Because what if your whole computer goes down? What if something crashes in a big way or gets fried? You want to be able to have those numbers. I remember a few times now, well, on 3 occasions, as I might have mentioned in my intro, I've been suddenly terminated from positions where it's basically, hey, can you stop in for a meeting? You walk in and they say, put your phone and your swipe card on the desk. You're done. Please leave. We'll box everything up and ship it to you. And for quite a while, 2 of those instances, my work phone was the only cell phone I had. So after the second time, I wised up enough to have a personal cell phone. And that way, if this happens again, then at least you have those important contact numbers. Keep all that stuff somewhere else. Okay, back to the news. First article: Florida slowly returning to normal after Hurricane Milton. The picture was actually a lineup at a gas station, as you can see, but it was people on foot with gas containers, not in their vehicles, which makes sense if your vehicle is out of fuel. So, what are some lessons we can take from this? Have extra gas on hand. Now, store it safely. Again, having been a firefighter, you don't want to go into a garage as a firefighter or even as a homeowner and have an incident where your fuel catches fire, increasing the hazards. But store it safely, but have some extra gas. What if you had to evacuate very quickly and you couldn't, there wasn't time to get to a fuel station or it was closed? Keep gas cans ready. Go out and pick up a couple of gas cans right now. Maybe not right now if you're at work, but go and get some. I found in my location, Costco's the best deal. You can get 2 cans for basically the price of 1 can anywhere else. So pick up a couple of cans. Even if you don't keep them full of fuel, at least you'll have them ready. Maybe keep an empty one in the trunk of your car so that if you do have to quickly stop, you can grab some fuel. And always try and keep your tank above half. I was very fortunate um, in my career having some excellent officers when I was a firefighter, and they would take it very, very seriously. We would basically be reprimanded if we ever, as the driver of a fire apparatus, let the fuel gauge go below 3/4. Keep your fuel filled up. You never know when you're going to have to quickly evacuate or be unable to get fuel or be stranded and need to leave your vehicle running. Keep it filled up. Doesn't cost you any more. It's a good habit to get into. Don't let it get below half. Power outages. So they said some people are still without power. Lessons here: have battery operated flashlights and radios. Consider getting a generator. If you can afford it, or even in a small capacity, get solar with batteries if you can. So many instances when I was living in the city about people who put solar panels on their roof, and that was fantastic, right? To offset costs, to generate green energy. But when the power went out, they still had no power, just like everyone else. That's why my new place, I have solar panels and I have battery backups so that I can at least, and I have connections for a generator. But get that stuff if you can. Damaged home and debris on streets. Lessons here. Build a strong home. Build it, overbuild it if you can. Get insurance and check your coverage. One of the clips in the article said, oh, it's okay. Insurance will pay for everything. It's just a pain to wait. Well, have insurance and check what it does cover. Have means to clear debris, even if it's a simple saw, gloves, etc. That could be if you've sheltered in place and you're just helping with recovery afterwards, or if you have to evacuate. Imagine if a tree's across the road and you can't get out. At my acreage, I carry a small bow saw in my truck, and many times I've come back and I have to drive up through the bush to get to my house. And on several occasions, I've had to stop, get out, and trees have been down across the road. So one time I didn't have the bow saw with me. I had to walk back up to my shed, get my chainsaw, come back down, and then clear the road. Another time it was a small enough tree that I did just grab the bow saw and cut that tree so that I could then get up to my house. Have some work gloves, have a small saw, something like that. They don't take up much space. You can easily put stuff in. If you're the utility company watching this, some lessons here, and that they said from the Florida utility company, consider burying more lines. They put in stronger poles. They've been working on this for the last decade, apparently, so the impact was somewhat mitigated because they had buried some of the lines. Focus on tree maintenance, pruning along the right-of-way if you're the utility company. Generally, for every dollar of prevention or preventative type mitigation things you put in place, it's between $4 and up that you save on response. So try and prevent ahead of time. Next article. Calgary Library reopens after cyber breach. So apparently this Calgary libraries are the third system to be attacked in Canada recently. There were some in BC and Toronto and now Calgary. Lessons here. It says they'll be operating in analog mode. Have backup procedures and plans that don't use the original methods or don't rely on, have it more of a manual backup that you can use for that. Patrons only allowed to check 10 items, but no returns are possible. I don't quite understand this one or see the value in doing this. But the lesson is if this is part of your plan, after you make your plan, exercise it and validate it and your assumptions. So what are the impacts of letting people check things out but having no, real return policy possible? Only one media update provided from Friday to Monday. Lessons. Have a media plan, and more updates are likely better than less. There's lots of instances in the news lately where companies have been faulted with not providing enough updates. Calgary libraries are the third system attacked recently. Learn from what's happening to others, especially in your own industry. Share your experiences. It may decrease the event likelihood and help others. So same thing, if you've been a victim of a cyber attack or a scam or spam or a phish, let other people know, because the knowledge helps make people aware of it so that maybe it won't happen to them. Share that information. Winter is coming. Now, the article was on collisions are about to increase. And I thought, why is that? Winter is coming. If you're a driver, what should you do? Get winter tires. And if you don't have them, order them. Schedule it right now, because when snow finally hits, it's like the first time everybody's ever seen snow, and everyone's in a mad rush to then get their tires put on. The recent port strikes in the US and Canada. One of the articles a little while ago was one about how tires would be something that was impacted. So if you need to order tires, and I've had this before too, when I've had to get new tires for one of my vehicles, and generally with my luck, as I say, if I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. But they can't just replace 2 tires or 1 tire. They've got to replace 2 or all 4. And then they have to call around to try and get matching tires. Order them now and book that appointment. Consider getting them on separate rims. For quite a while, my wife used to get she had summer and winter tires, and she would just get them to switch back and forth between the rims. Get them on different rims. Generally, people get the winter tires on steel rims. Steel is a little bit tougher than a lot of the alloys, and it's heavier, which gives you more traction in the winter. And if you have them on separate rims, you can either A, change it yourself, or B, if you do have an incident where you have a flat, say with your summer or winter tires, it might not be ideal, but at least you can throw one of the other ones on to help out if you need to while you're waiting for one to be repaired. Put your winter emergency kit in your vehicle. Everyone should have an emergency kit in their vehicle. Mine changes from, it's seasonal. So in the winter, I take out all the water that I normally keep stored in my truck. And when I go to the truck to drive anywhere, I'll make sure to take a water bottle with me. Have a blanket, candle, matches, snacks, warm clothes in your vehicle now. I always throw in, if I'm going anywhere, I'll put in my big set of boots if I'm not wearing them. My snow pants, make sure I have a warm jacket, have that stuff in there, and I have a blanket. So if I'm by myself, I can, put my big heavy clothes on and walk to get help. And if I have passengers, they can have a candle, some snacks, water, a blanket, and I can walk for help. Again, have other things in there as well. Last winter, I always have a tow strap in my truck. And last winter, just on one trip into town, I pulled 3 cars out of the ditch. They said they had been told it would be 5 or 6 hours for a tow truck. And so I helped them out. Again, here's keep your tank over half full. If you get stuck, have a flat tire, go in the ditch or anything like that, you might have to leave your vehicle running. Keep the exhaust clear, of course, if you go into the ditch. But have your tank full and put your lights on, for goodness sake, not just the fog lights. Don't leave them on auto because, it really, really peeves me when I drive around and I see people driving with no lights on in poorly lit conditions. Sometimes it's almost blackout and people are still not driving with their lights on or just their fog lights on. They don't have their tail lights on. Put your lights on, headlights and tail lights. It'll help you see things more and it will help you be seen more. And leave extra time. It's going to be slippery. Things are going to take longer. Leave more time. If you're a pedestrian, dress properly for warmth and visibility. Again, don't rely on other people. Don't assume vehicles will stop. Don't assume they're going to have their lights on. Be as visible as you can. Dress properly. What if you take the bus? What if the bus late? If you're walking, what if it takes you longer than you thought? Have proper footwear, proper clothing. Take extra shoes if you're going to change at the office. Use traction devices. You can get cleats. If it's really, really slippery and icy, some have spikes. Some are just little tiny kind of more discreet nubs, but they do help with traction, even different rubber that you can put on, over boots, things like that, or a hiking pole, cane, walking stick, anything like that to help with traction. Don't walk with your hands in your pockets. So if you slip, you can hopefully catch yourself or maybe not fall and injure yourself. Leave more time. Again, it's going to be slippery. You might have to take more time. If you're crossing the street, cross at well-lit intersections. If you do have to walk on the road because the sidewalk is either, not there or totally covered, walk facing traffic and as far away from vehicles as you can. Financial planning. Now, there was a few things in this one. The article was actually about what the average RRSP value is, and it was something like 215,000. 96 some thousand of that was in registered plans, and the rest was in non-registered plans. When I saw that, I thought, wow, people need to save more. The lessons I would take from this: save for your retirement. Build an emergency fund. Have some in cash and some in liquid funds, like a high interest savings account, high yield savings account, money market funds, something like that, something that's easily accessible. But again, that's all just ones and zeros on a screen. And if there's a problem with the banks, you won't be able to access that. So have some on hand. I can't tell you the number of times my emergency fund has saved me. I've drawn it down on a number of occasions. Now, being one of them, again, when you're suddenly out of work, you still have bills to pay. Try and have multiple streams of income. It was funny. I was just talking with my wife just literally a day or two before I was fired about, I can't rely on just this job. and I need to get something else going. So try and do that if you can. Maintain some skills, have some hobbies that you could maybe quickly, rely upon for extra cash if you need to. Don't rely on one source of income. And again, always keep some cash on you in your wallet, in your purse, and at home. You never know when you're going to need it. Bank runs. Sounds bad, and it is bad. How do you avoid that? Well, consider having multiple accounts in multiple banks. If one bank is down or is having issues, maybe another one's up. So if you have a couple of different accounts, maybe you can still access your funds. Limit the amount in similar account types. So in Canada, my understanding is the limit for deposit insurance is $100,000. And so you may not want to keep more than that in a single account or of a single account type. So that's why if you spread it around to different institutions, different account types, perhaps you can have some security that way. Keep some cash on you and at home. Now, maybe not too much, whatever you're comfortable with, but have some so that if you suddenly can't get in, even ATMs the other day, I was driving in and I went to stop at an ATM. I knew the bank would be closed, but it said this. There was a sign on the vestibule door saying ATM access only during banking hours. So right away you're stuck again. That if the bank closes for a bank holiday or something like that, you can't access your funds. Maybe have some money outside of the system. Lots of people promote having physical precious metals, gold, silver. Even now, one of the articles was Costco now selling platinum. Should you buy some? Well, that's a personal decision, but having some money outside of the traditional financial system might be to your benefit, something to consider. Compliance and enforcement risks. This article was on the TD Bank and how regulators need to ensure compliance more vigilantly and rigorously. Well, okay, maybe so. But what about compliance in your company? Do you know of areas where your staff are not complying with regulations, which would be a non-compliance, or even your own policies, frameworks, or procedures, which is a non-conformance? I've seen that many, many times where people in a company do not comply with the company's own policies and frameworks. And that leads to, how do you enforce compliance or conformance? If someone, if you say, okay, my job is to make sure that you're doing your job. So please provide evidence that you've done that. And if they say, nope, not going to do it, what happens next? How do you enforce that? They are violating, they're being non-conformant to one of your own policies, frameworks, or procedures. And do you enforce it consistently? If you have two separate groups and they both break the same policy, do you enforce it consistently with them? If you have different levels within your organization, do you maybe, are you more heavy-handed with frontline staff than you are with management or leaders or the senior executive? Is that a good thing? And on this, remember that a policy or a procedure, a framework, things like that, they're administrative controls, which are very weak at best, and especially if they're not enforced. So a control, remember, is something to decrease the probability or impact of an event occurring. You have inherent risk and you have residual risk. So you have inherent risk, and then you put controls in place to mitigate or alter that risk, to decrease the probability or the impact, make that risk less likely to happen or less impactful when it does happen. So those are your controls. What you're left with is a residual risk. So if you just have a sign up saying, please don't steal my stuff, some people might look at that and say, oh, I better not steal that stuff. They have a sign up. Or you walk into an office and it says, warning, we will not tolerate physical or verbal abuse. That's administrative. Or you have a sign up saying, okay, staff, team members, please remember to follow our policies and procedures for either social media, internet usage, harassment, any of those things. There's policies. And everyone says, oh, yeah, I'll follow that. That's administrative. If you don't enforce it, it's really, really weak. That's it for now. Thanks so much.